World's Finest number 5, written by Paul Levitz, art by George Perez, Jerry Ordway, and Wes Craig. This is essentially just a little epilogue capper issue before we get into the next arc. So we open up in Massachusetts in one of Karen's labs, and she's being blasted by a massive laser saying, "Is that all you can do?" And Huntress is on the other end saying, like, "That's literally as much as your laser can do." Like, yeah, no, that is the cap. So if you want to test out how strong your powers truly are, you're going to need a better laser. And Karen's like, I mean, this is literally the best I got, so it's going to be an issue. I still feel strong, so I don't understand why Haku from last arc managed to hurt me. It genuinely doesn't make any sense. Also, something I just got to point out here is that repeatedly in this book, all of Karen's clothes get fried. Not completely. There's modesty to it in the most loosest sense of the word modesty. But like constantly she's having to get more clothes. And they lampshade that as well later on. They say like, "Hey, Karen, why do all your clothes get fried?" She's like, "I just know how to party." So anyway, this is the framing device of them saying like, yeah, you know, we got to find out like how to get back home and also how to do all this, like what our powers truly are. Why didn't Huntress get affected by Haku's radiation? The world may never know. But then we just get two different stories where the first is Karen basically saying, in looking for me on how to get back home, I invested in CERN and they ran their particle accelerator and I thought, hey, that'll have something to do with new dimensions. So she made out with one of the scientists there so that she could be literally right next to the tube as it was running. She uses her x-ray vision in order to see inside. And she's like, oh, this looks promising. This is something. And the dude she made out with like, why are you just staring at the, like, it's literally subatomic particles. You literally can't see them. You're just staring at a tube. She's like, shut up. You don't understand. Then a giant boom happens further down the line. She knocks out the guy briefly so she can use her superpowers. And as she looks at the boom, it's a portal, the same one that brought them into this world. And she's like, okay, this is promising, but I also see something on the other side. So gotta stop that. And out clanks this big mech machine. And she's like, okay, are you apocalyptic? Are you not? What's going on? And before anything can be said, it attacks her and starts attacking the subatomic, the particle accelerator. And so Karen jumps in the way, frying all of her clothes, of course, and takes the machine and flies it up through the ground, which is, you know, like in the Swiss Alps pretty much. So she just zooms up out of the ground, losing more clothes in the process. And then she x-rays the mech. She sees a whole bunch of circuitry that's lighting up everywhere. And then all of a sudden it explodes. And she's like, well, that was weird. And then we get the lampshade hanging. I'm like, why do you always lose your clothes? And she's like, I'm physical like that. So then we switch over. Huntress is like, man, I don't get out as much as you do, but I still get out. And then we see back in Boston, there is a march for not exactly women's rights, but just a protest against, like, you know, the sort of sexual assault and stuff like that. It's just a respect sort of protest. And we see a bunch of women marching, but then there's also a sniper nearby loading up his gun. And Hunter shows up in her civilian saying like, oh, hey, nice protest. I'll join in along. And she gets talking to one of the people there. And Huntress looks up and she hears like the crack of a gunshot. Everyone else thinks it's thunder. Apparently no one was injured. But she's like, oh, that's a gunshot. I got to go take care of that before someone is injured. So she puts on her outfit, looks around, tries to find where the sniper is, sees the glint of his scope, and makes her way up there. But it is like on top of a very tall building. So it's going to take her a minute or two to get up there. And in the time it takes her to get up there, another shot is fired. And she hears a scream down below. And she's like, all right, got to get in there now. So she gets in, sees this guy on the sniper platform. And he sees her, immediately flips around like, hey, don't come at me or I'll shoot. She just throws one of her little throwing knives to knock the gun out of his hand and kicks him in the face. And the guy starts to talk like, you don't understand, and she's like, I genuinely don't care. Like, shut up. And he's like, but I don't care. I genuinely don't want to hear it. He's like, okay. So he's put in the cop car. Apparently, nobody was injured on the second go around because the protest is still ongoing. I don't know why someone screamed. But regardless, Huntress makes her way back to the protest and they march off on their own. And then we get back to the framing device where Karen's like, you do know there's going to be more people like that, right? And she's like, yeah, just got to take the small victories where you can. And she's like, it's different than what I do. It's either solve the problem or get out of the way. And he's like, all right, well, to each their own. And then they fly off together into the night. And that's it. That's the issue. I liked it. It was a solid little frame device to say how both of them, their own things they're doing. Karen is definitely more desperate to get back to her homeworld, whereas I'm always blanking on her name. Karen is Helena. That's the one. So Helena is far more accepting of her current world and just trying to do good things where she can, trying to be that sort of, I don't want to say optimistic, but just getting things done as she would in her own world, where Karen is a lot more self-centered otherwise. So I like the framing, I like the characters. I gotta say the art style definitely jumps around a little bit. It doesn't feel... It does have a jump once it gets to the Huntress story. That one does feel significantly different. But between the Power Girl and the framing device, it feels pretty much the same. George Perez and Jerry Ordway, very similar. Wes Craig is a little bit different. Maybe it's just the inks, but overall it flows. I like the feel of it. It isn't anything amazing, but it is just a nice solid issue. So I'll give it a 7. Definitely looking forward to seeing where we go from here for the World's Finest, because they really haven't set up any future plots besides Get Home. So interesting to see at what point they might pivot on that or make some progress. Either way, I'm interested to see it.